Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. Only, wait, I've been teasing it all season, and here we are at a Best Darn Everything, because we're not talking about The Simpsons tonight. We are talking about striking first, striking hard, no mercy. We're going to get at it, and we're not alone. So before we get to our awesome guest today, let me introduce to you, as always, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm doing fine and dandy like sour candy, Miles. It's always a fun one to talk about. And I've got I'm either becoming Linus from Charlie Brown, or I'm becoming Jon Snow from Game of Thrones with my blanket fetish here of late. So
that is like the spectrum of blanket, like
I know.
That's dope. That was nice.
I kind of feel like I might be going a little Inspector Spacetime if I go Abed here. But that's a podcast for a different time. You said we had a guest. We got Cobra Kai season 5 today. There's no time to waste. Let me throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the chosen? It is Miles.
We are here today with fellow DFW comedian Robert Peppers, who, this man basically eats, drinks, and consumes comedy, and that's what he is on this planet to do. But occasionally, when we're on like a comedy show together, we just talk about Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, because we are both mega fans of the show, and I'm so excited to finally have him here on Best Darn Diddly, or Best Darn Everything, to talk about it. Welcome to the show, Robert. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, man. First of all, guys, thank you for having me. And Richie, pleasure to meet you once again. And I am feeling beyond awesome. And as you guys see, I'm repping Johnny Lawrence's Eagle Fang.
Yeah. I think we're all doing something here. You got Eagle Fang, we got Eagle Claw, we got the original Cobra Kai. We are all, in fact, nerds.
Yes. And we're proud of it, damn it.
Nice inflection at the end.
Yeah.
What is a nerd, Miles? Let's talk about it for the next 60 to 75 minutes. What is a nerd? Well, if you look up nerd in Webster's dictionary, you'll find that, we're not here for that. Come on, Miles, let's go.
I was wondering where you were going with that bit, so I was ready. But Robert, before we get too far into talking about Cobra Kai, the show, because we're now all the way up to 5 seasons that have referenced 3 movies and a whole lot of backstory that is available. What's your history with the Karate Kid franchise in general?
Oh, man. Let me just say, I grew up just watching a whole bunch of karate movies as a child. The first Karate Kid, of course, with Ralph Macchio, obviously. I just, like many others, I fell in love with. I love the whole concept of Mr. Miyagi's philosophy. Mm-hmm. He didn't, now that I'm as an adult, you look back on it and you go back into it and you see how he's trying to have Daniel do all his chores, and he didn't understand why. He thought he was going to learn karate, but then it's a method to what you call the madness. I like Mr. Miyagi's wax on, wax off, and balance for whole life. So that's my history with the karate films, man. I loved all 3 of them, honestly. Do you
also love how like the comedian can make himself into a almost Academy Award?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like the guy, whoever thought that Arnold from Happy Days can be just transform into like just this cool, just sensei.
Well, it's so cool when you hear like the cast that got to know him. Everybody just talks about how like great of a dude he was, and how funny he was in general. And a lot of times whenever you have these types of, I don't know, God likes too big, like these figures that we put up on a pedestal,
larger than life.
Larger than life is a good one, but I was even going to say like, I guess more like a mentorship type of role in these movies and whatnot. It's always so heartbreaking when you find out that they're not who they presented themselves to be.
Yeah, it's crazy when I watch some of the interviews. Guys like with Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, who played Johnny and Daniel, and when the mentions come of Pat Morita, who played Mr. Miyagi, it seemed like they had nothing but just awesome things to just say about the guy. They said he was not only just a good sensei on, as a character, but he would encourage him. He was a good mentor, offset. He said, I think William Zackler said that he would give him advice and whatnot. So he was just good to everybody around him.
Yeah, and the age gap with, William Zabka and Ralph Macchio were both older than they presented to be in the movie, but still, a massive difference in age, and just the fact that he does have that kind of fatherly, grandfatherly relationship with both of them. And you gotta give props to the creators of this show, because they always go back to the idea that everything in this universe, this Cobra Kai universe, always has to exist in the world that Miyagi lived in, and they always take the time to reflect on how would have Miyagi affected these decisions, and what would the weight of his legacy leave on these guys as they're making these choices. And there's even times where you've seen Daniel LaRusso break down and is just oh my God, Mr. Miyagi would be so ashamed of me.
Yeah, he you just hit on the head, Miles. There were times where you saw Daniel breaking down. Well, I can go back to the very first episode. They showed the classic match between Johnny and Daniel at the All Valley tournament, and I like how it picked up where, on Johnny's life. Okay, what's Johnny been doing? And it seemed like his life is downhill. Then you see Daniel. It seemed like his life is perfect, but it's not all the way perfect. And I think, I think it was in season 2 when everything started getting off balance in his marriage and with karate. And like you said, Mr. Miyagi, he would feel ashamed of him. But if Mr. Miyagi was there, I feel he would definitely sit down with Daniel and, have the classic, Daniel-san. You need balance for whole life. That was just classic Mr. Miyagi right there.
Yeah, for sure. That's how he operated, essentially. And I with the exception of the fact that in this universe, police more or less don't exist, and all conflict is handled through karate. With that exception, they actually ground these characters really well. And you brought up the wife. Even this season, the newest season, there's that point where it's dude, enough is enough. You're you've been in this fight with these teenagers over karate for 2 years now. I'm leaving you if you don't get your shit together. That feels relatively real. I think in any situation, if something consumes somebody for that long, it would get to a point where it's you either need to get help or get out, because I'm done with it.
Yeah, because it goes back to me. That part goes back. Okay, Mr. Miyagi was always about balance. Not just in karate, but in life. With the newest season, it exemplified what he meant by that, because you go back when they were at that auction, and Daniel was so wrapped up on, he was just pumped up on trying to get the best of Silver, trying to expose Terry Silver, to whereas Amanda, his wife, asked him, okay, keep your cool, but he didn't, and he let Silver bait him, and of course she ended up leaving him. So but like you said, if you don't get your shit together, I'm leaving. So you need to get your shit together.
Dude,
and
I hated that scene you just referenced so much. That you could see it happening from our perspective, and you knew it was boiling up to that point. And the whole time you're just Daniel, you dumbass!
Yeah,
don't do it. But you knew it was going to happen. He's always been a hothead. You knew it was going to happen, and Terry knows that. Silver knows that.
Yeah, because they're the same age in real life. I mean,
that's not true. Daniel's older than Terry Silver.
Yeah, that's right.
He just doesn't look like it.
Ralph's older than Thomas.
He talk about the fountain of youth, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, he's 60 years old. But it's funny that you what you just said, Richie. How he's always been a hothead. If you go back to season 4 when they're in that little market, and Daniel tells Silver you're not sensei, and Silver tells him hey, you know what? There's always been a little Cobra Kai in you. All I do was just wound you up a little bit, and that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Well, and it's so go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say, going back to what Robert was saying, it's not just about Ralph. Well, Ralph, it's not just about Daniel's balance, though, because he does not find balance in this season until his wife tells him, I'm with you, go kick his ass.
Yeah.
Like it's all around him had to be balanced, not just him. So that's something that I appreciate about the show is that like one person may hear the message, or it might be directed at one person, but pretty much all the characters have to have the message seep through. And you always know that at least one or two people are going to trade sides in a season, which I'm glad they got that again, and not just from everybody you thought it would be. But yeah, I think the Mr. Miyagi character is one of the biggest characters in the show, and I just find that fascinating since the screen time doesn't exist in the modern times in the seasons.
Yeah, only
like
a few flashbacks here and there. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Another thing I really liked about guys is that the fact that they brought the girl from Karate Kid Part 3,
yes,
friend,
dude,
and you
absolutely.
find out that was Amanda's cousin,
and she introduced them.
Yes. Like, wow, that's good.
It's tied together.
Writing right there.
Honest to God, dude, when that scene started, I like was immediately like, "Holy shit, we're gonna get like a soccer mom bar brawl!" And
yeah.
like that's exactly what happened.
The crazy thing about it, like if it wasn't for her, telling Amanda the backstory about Terry Silver, like there you have it. Now she knows why she realized why Daniel was acting the way he's acting. She
had to hear it from an outside source because to her husband was so like karate crazed that like, no, you don't understand. It's just this other random psycho that happens to teach karate where I used to live. And then like when she actually gets that confirmed from her cousin, it's like, oh, he wasn't making that up. This person really is a sociopath. Which I guess at a certain point she should probably be asking herself the question, why does my husband attract so many crazy people into his life? But ultimately, he's telling the truth about Terry Silver.
Yeah, he's telling the truth about Terry Silver. Terry, it's like he was just living. You see him at the beginning of season 4, and I don't know about you guys, but season 4, seeing him, it gave me goosebumps in a way because it's like you haven't seen this dude in forever. And
that piano, dude, the way they brought him in, it was like haunting because like he was like playing his own like villain score.
Yeah, so it's like this guy, he's just kind of trying to live a peaceful life. Then Kreese comes back into his life. One thing I do want to bring up is how I didn't feel sorry for Kreese, for him going to prison.
He didn't need to fake his way out either. Like,
yeah,
the charges were going to be reversed, and he was going to get out regardless.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I love the way they set that up with the whole Jello stuff and how he was like playing it nice, letting him have his Jello the whole time.
He had to get out the Kreese way. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he had to get out the Kreese way.
That's Kreese because you can't.
No mercy,
dude. He's not going to fold. He only goes through the crease. That's how it works.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, Kreese got tired. Like Kreese was pretty much. You bring Terry Silver in, and you want to talk about him like he's beneath you. Telling, you remember I saved you in Vietnam. You were just a little scared. You were just full of piss and all that stuff. Like, don't question my command. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this guy, decided to come help you. Like, you're gonna burn bridges. And so that's why Silver did what he did. And I also like how they taught the lesson about weakness. Everyone has a weakness. But speaking of that, I know I like how to see some other characters evolve. Like I'm liking how it seems that Hawk is evolving, and it seems like Kenny Payne, the newest kid, it seemed like he was a straight beast.
Dude, I love how they're developing him so much because he, we got introduced to him in a very sympathetic way. He was being online bullied by LaRusso's kid, among others. And it was something that like you instantly like you're kind of rooting for this kid right off the bat. You're like, man, I've been in that position. I've been made fun of like that. I want to see these other douches get their comeuppance. But like just the way that it really showed how the Cobra Kai, it's more than just a dojo. It's really almost a cult, and the way they are able to just like turn him so hard that by the end of this newest season, he's literally turned on his old mentor Robbie. And is like, no, I've drank the Cobra Kai Kool-Aid so hard that even though you're the person that gave it to me and am now telling you it's poison, I'm still not going to believe you because I love Cobra Kai. It's wild, but it's also believable, and I'm rooting for Kenny, but like right now you can see it's almost like Luke Skywalker when you know that he's going to turn into the dark. You know he's turning to the dark side, but there's a point where you're rooting that like no, like say to the light, kid, you got this.
Yeah, it's gonna boil down to the oldest and best of the sayings.
Yeah,
there are no bad students, only bad
teachers.
Yeah,
that's
right. Yeah, have you guys ever noticed that Kyler? I like the actor, but Kyler, the character, it seemed like ever since he got his ass kicked by Miguel in the cafeteria on season 1, it's like every person he's fully kicked his ass.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, Kyler, like, I like his character as like a douchey bad guy or whatever, but like, yeah, as far as his credibility goes, like he was like introduced to us as like the original villain or the original bully on the scene. And yeah, homie just keeps getting his ass handed to him in pretty much every fight, and to the point now.
But he saved somebody from the burning fire or whatever. Did you not hear about that?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
He's going to be a hero in the next season.
Honestly, that would be a fun storyline for him. I think that would actually be pretty hilarious to see. Like, we see him, like, the guilt starts to weigh on him, or, there's holes in his story, but he's just, like, riding that wave as long as he can. And that feels Kyler. That feels like what he would do.
Yeah, and Miles, man, dude, I love you more. You're drinking some C4, man. We have too much in common, bro.
Cheers, dude.
Yeah, cheers, man. So,
sponsor?
I wish.
So, you know what? There's one character who I'm really hoping to evolve more, and that is Dimitri, because when you first see Dimitri, he's nerdy, he's insecure, and, hey, everybody has those insecurities. I mean, I'll put myself out there. I know what it's like to be bullied, but I know what it's like to handle bullies. But then, somebody said, I was watching with my son. My son was like, oh, Dad, he's so weak. I said, yeah, but hold on, wait a minute.
Give him time.
He's going to surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to come up and he's going to surprise you. I mean, he kicked some ass. Like the way he dropped Kyla. He said, yeah, that feel good. Bitch.
You celebrated with him in that moment because you could feel like, and he shout out to the actor that pulls that off too, because he does embody that underdog spirit. And so far they've managed to do it in a very believable way with him as well, just in the sense that Dimitri didn't just go from somebody who was getting his ass kicked to somebody that was kicking ass. I think that first
like almost every other character on the show.
Is that the case for every other character on the show? We can definitely talk about it.
Miguel is like top tier warrior now. And when he first started, he didn't know. That's just the Karate Kid way.
Plus, he got his back broken and came back from that pretty quickly. I mean, with some very good therapy on Johnny Lawrence's part, of course.
You got to give me props, Miles, because on our season 4 show, you said, "Where's this going to go?" And I said, "I think it would be great if Johnny goes to get Miguel, but Robbie tags along with him." I said that'll be so much drama, and then they just went right through it, that quick. It felt like
that brings up. I want to talk more about Dimitri, honestly, but we talked a lot about all these characters previously, so we can get back to that. But let's go into the meat of season 5 specifically a little bit more, Richie, since you did just have a nice segue there. You're right. We started with your prediction. We got the duo of Johnny Lawrence along with his son Robbie on their way to save Miguel, and the thing that was a twist on that was it was not news to her. Basically, Robbie did not know that was the purpose, so it was kind of this weird dynamic. And one of the best scenes from last season is when Miguel was being taking care of Johnny Lawrence, who was super drunk, and he accidentally said "I love you" and then called him Robbie, and kind of all plays off of all that energy. There's this dynamic jealousy. Johnny Lawrence is a father figure to both characters in different ways, one literally, one figuratively, but it obviously creates a lot of tension. And I was all for that, and I'm with you, Richie. As much as I did enjoy the start of this season, and I know you're going to tell me that you didn't, I do think that this season would have been better if they let those 3 characters stay out of the picture for a little bit longer. And make that arc, Miguel doesn't just find his dad in literally the first episode. Miguel is struggling and they eventually run into each other, and then there's a fight amongst Robbie and Miguel there. I think they had room to make that a lot more interesting. I agree with you on that, but I still ultimately love the start where the idea was, and I do like how the season came together.
Yeah, no, me too. I looking back on it, every time, like I go back, if I would go back and look at that fight, that school fight season 2. I mean, come on, guys, think about it. I know growing up you saw some fights in school, but I thought to myself, wow, if I ever saw a fight like that on the first day of school and somebody get kicked off the second floor, it's like, whoa, man, that could kill somebody. But you know, you could tell that Robbie felt guilty for what he did.
Oh yeah, instantly.
Instantly, you feel guilty. But you know, I like how they had them fight it out, how Johnny had them fight out, but it was supervised. But Miguel, he held back. He's like, hey, why'd you hold back? Like, I didn't get into karate to hurt people. And, you know, Robbie told him, like, hey, for what it's worth, I lost it, you know, and that's what happens. Like, when you're in a fight, I mean, come on, I'm sure you guys have been in fights, you know, your adrenaline's going, your mind's somewhere else. Like Robbie said, you had tunnel vision, then you hurt the person real bad because, you know, that's not you. You just want this thing to be over with. But he said that was the worst moment of my life, and I could take it back.
This is a dark analogy to that, but that is the reason why a murder committed as a crime of passion is tried differently, is convicted differently than a murder that is planned out in advance. Those are two different brains that are going after the same results. One that's very malicious, and one that is just potentially a human being that's been overstressed or over emoted. Not condoning murder, just to be clear. That's not the stance that the Best
I really am glad
show takes. But like legitimately, that is why our law is written that way. Because what Robbie did in that moment was obviously a crime of passion, a fight in the moment. They're teenagers. Their hormones are already off the charts. This is already an emotionally heightened town. The karate is the answer to all problems. And there's also a girl in the middle of the picture, which to teenagers is just like gasoline on top of more gasoline that's already on fire.
Yeah, it's crazy. First, Miguel and Sam are dating, then they break up. Then, okay, season 2, Robbie and Sam are dating. Then, you know, Tori comes to the mix. Tori and Miguel are dating. And then, okay, it switches around. So I kind of saw it coming where, okay, Robbie's going to join season 4. He and Tori hooked up. And, okay, you remember season 4, you know, they start making out Silver's car, like, oh, see, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So now you figure, okay, eventually, the way season 4 ended, you knew eventually Robbie and Miguel would call a truce and whatnot. And so it's like, okay, Robbie belongs to, you know, Tori, Miguel belongs to Sam. So let me ask you guys this. Do you guys think that the characters of Samantha LaRusso and Tori Nichols will become friends, and do you think Tori would join Eagle Fang or Miyagi-Do?
Ooh, that's a really great question. I do think that they're going to maintain more of a frenemies aspect. I don't necessarily think that, I don't think Samantha is going to switch dojos, but I could see Tori going with Johnny Lawrence's side of things with like Eagle Fang. But I still think that those two's dynamic, I don't think they could ever be like besties. I just don't think that would make sense.
Yeah, because if they did become, I feel like you, Miles, like they could have like a frenemy type deal. Like thing is, like they have mutual respect for one another. And I never saw Tori as a bad person because of what you see what she's dealing with.
So
she's trying to take care of her mom.
She is one of the more sympathetic characters on the show.
Yeah.
The LaRusso kids might be the villains of the whole series.
Honestly, the LaRusso kids suck the most.
That's not changing my point of view. This season did nothing to help that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's season 4. Like, you see Tori at her job, and you see Samantha.
Tori's trying to reach out.
Yeah, and, you know, Samantha, it's like she's being a bully. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, what's up with the LaRusso kids? First, okay, Anthony's bullying Kenny, and he's the new kid at school. And now, okay, Samantha, she's, you know, messing with Tori. It's like, okay, you know. And when Samantha lost in the tournament, I was like, oh, well, hey, maybe that's karma. But then,
the cheating thing,
of course, we learned that, you know, Silver paid off the damn referee. And it's like, okay, this is typical Terry Silver.
But that's also so great that they didn't have Tori in on that. Like, that it was also a blindside to her. And that was honestly one of my favorite storylines continuing into this season was the whole start with her, like, is she going to bring the trophy in? Does, you know, the fact that they ended up making that the whole resolution was her conflict with Terry Silver in the dojo ended up being the video file that, you know, saved the day or whatever. I like that a lot because Tori is a very interesting character. She's a really well-rounded person on the show and not just like a lot of the kids who Richie kind of noted, and just like it's just like they're basically in this show because they need students at a dojo versus like some of these characters actually have lives that seem to function outside of karate, which is wild.
Yeah, I want to finish Rob's question from earlier. Mm-hmm. Can Sam and Tori become friends? Because I'm going to have to call bullshit on both of you right now. Do you not know what franchise we're talking about here? Freaking Chosen and Daniel are like BFFs.
And they fought to the death, dude. You're right.
They're trying to kill him.
Even Mike Barnes seems to be.
Even Mike Barnes.
He's not as...
And Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely possible. And again, Miles, everyone saw it coming, but I also called Tori going to Sam first with the information.
Sure.
Just because that's more dramatic and it adds more story elements. The only person that will keep them from becoming friends is Sam because of her terrible decision making and her grudge holding, and she always makes things worse than they need to be. So yes, they could become friends, but they probably won't because Sam is the worst.
Interesting take.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend was like, I need a break. Like, I'm literally trying to figure life out. And she gets all bent out of shape about it. And we get the relationship broken up that nobody cares. We know they're going to end up like, okay, I'm done with this already. Let's move past.
Yeah, and honestly, like, how many things can be dropped in that yard and just, like, mysteriously found by the correct person?
And stays there.
Yeah.
It stays there for multiple days.
Yeah, because what the octopus, I think it is, or whatever. Yeah. The callback to the stuffed animal.
Well, they weren't training anymore. They weren't allowed to. So
yeah, there
probably
you
had
go.
a few visitors.
You know, though.
Well, you know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, man. Oh, no. Well, I was gonna say, to get back to, like we were talking about Dimitri. He ended up getting with. The girls of his dreams, Yasmin,
the most popular girl in school, who honestly doesn't deserve him. That's the thing about that relationship, is that girl is still totally a mean girl. Like, she's... I don't know. I don't like that aspect with Dimitri. I think it would have been better if they had, like, just made out, or, like, she had to go through... Maybe, like, it was a situation where she developed a crush on him and had to, like, demonstrate that she's not the same piece of shit that she used to be. I think that would have actually been a better situation. No, we can have a student or two who's not into karate, I think. That's okay.
Yeah. So I just like that they keep the popular girls in 3 because, Sam's a part of that clique with the 2 of those. You know why popular girls are always in groups of 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, right?
Because they can't even.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no balance in that aspect. You know what, guys? I tell you what, we really been getting into this thing, but one character I really enjoyed the most evolve is Eli Hawk Mouse.
Yes, dude. Hawk is arguably the best character in the show.
Yeah,
honestly.
first he was first he was insecure in season 1, but then he took Johnny's advice. He flipped the script and he becomes this, like, just this badass dude. Like, just okay, who is this? Like, whoa, who are you now? And you can see he started smelling himself because he started getting attention from Moon, and.
Which you got the tattoo, which I thought is hilarious as a, like, 16-year-old or whatever, but, it's fine.
Yeah, but when he broke Dimitri's arm in season 3, you know what I'm saying, that was kind of messed up. But, you have to give Dimitri his props at the end of season 2 when he used the defense. He used this roundhouse that, I think that was like a outside crescent kick, kicked him through the glass. I'm like, okay, go Dimitri.
Yeah.
But...
Dude, one of my favorite character moments with Eli this last season was when they're having to decide who gets to fight and represent Miyagi-Do or whatever. And basically both Miguel and Robbie essentially, like, pass they're like, hey man, like, he rightfully won. There's really no reason that either of us. And it basically just kind of says, like, we're making him an equal. Like, the 2 strongest fighters on the show are saying that this Hawk person is our equal, is our peer. And I really like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, okay, the 3 of them together, like the way they did the screaming eagle. I like, that's a bad
dude.
Robbie Hawk. It's kind of like I'm looking at the 3 of them, and I had a geek out moment. It's like looking at Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, because they were like the big three in the Avengers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, they were like the trio in the Avengers. So it's like looking at these guys, Miguel, Robbie, and Eli, or Hawk, whatever you want to call them. Like, man, this is a dope trio. And I like on season 4 how Hawk is really, really trying to find himself even more after he gets his mohawk cut off. He falls down, but then he decides to join Miyagi-Do, and he finds his confidence again. You know, and then of course Moon comes along. You know, for us, like, you always like when the girl comes along, like, hey, you know what? I like you for who you are. I like you for your confidence. You know, I ain't care about the mohawk, you know, but I like you for who you are, you know. And that's what helped him win the championship, I guess, against Robbie. Robbie was just so pent up with anger and all this stuff. But
Robbie was focused on his protege, and he took his eye off the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you have to admit, Robbie turned to a whole different animal when he fought Kenny in the All Valley tournament. That kick was like, whoa, silenced.
So that's the other big thing that we get from this season that I am personally just so excited about. You just mentioned the All Valley tournament, and you know, I guess everybody over the last few years just kind of forgot to mention that there's this even bigger, greater tournament that happens every year. But we know about it now, and damn it, that's all I need to be really excited about this, like, worldwide karate tournament expo.
But it's secret. Shh.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
It's like that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where the tournament every 10 years.
Yeah, Bloodsport.
Mortal Kombat? No, I'm just kidding.
Let me ask you guys this. I know you guys be on probably on YouTube like I do, research Cobra Kai. It's always being teased that Hilary Swank's character, Julie, from Next Karate Kid might join. Do you guys think that she will fit anywhere in this, honestly? Because I don't know. I feel like, you know, with the writers, John, Josh, and Hayden, I feel like if they were to add her, there's somewhere in the writing where her and Daniel probably have flashbacks of Miyagi's teaching or something like that. But
so I like the idea of her being in the show a lot, and it all goes back to what we talked about earlier with the writers all centering this show around what they call the Miyagi-verse, and they basically claim that anything that Mr. Miyagi was in is canon to their show, which means that the next Karate Kid would be included. The Jaden Smith Karate Kid would not be because he wasn't in that. But right. I would personally like to see, and I think this is extremely plausible, at the worldwide tournament that we are going to go to this next season, I would think it would be interesting if she was a sensei, essentially, for somebody that's represented in that tournament. I don't necessarily think she should still be fighting.
Sam's friend that moved away. She found a new...
Alicia! Oh my god, what if she was mentoring or senseiing for Alicia? That would be incredible, dude. Yeah. And that's a cool idea, too, because Alicia was a really strong, fun character early on that just essentially got written out. But even her character, the actress that plays her, and the creators have both specifically mentioned her that she could easily still show up in this universe in the future.
Yeah, I feel that they should definitely bring her back because I felt she was a strong fighter.
And I guess, Richie, do they have to... I can't remember which one of you said this now, but do they don't have to know each other? Like... I would say that
I have options.
Yeah.
I have options. I like our idea that we just came up with on the spot because that definitely fits into the style of the show. But I mean, there could be some kind of like this world tournament ends and something happens. So like the Miyagi-Do is going to close down the end of the series. Like, because I assume the next season. I thought they said 6 seasons, but now it sounds like they might change their mind.
6 seasons in a movie is what I've heard.
Yeah, Miyagi-Do is closing down. And it's like basically national news because they almost did it or they did do it. I don't know. I've got ideas to tease on what happens at the end of the next season. But then Julie shows up to pay her respects to Miyagi's initial residency there. Or maybe Daniel goes to Okinawa again one more time and she goes there to pay respects. It's just something where it's like nationally known where it would be easily accessible to Julie. Or they're at some kind of event where they need a falconer for some reason, so she happens to be there because she's a falconer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So there's a couple options there.
Yeah. You know, I want to bring up one thing that I think one of you guys touched on this, how Daniel, I think it was you, Richie, you talked about how, you could become friends with somebody who's your worst enemy. I mean, of course, we talked about how Robbie and Miguel, called the truce because one thing they have in common is Johnny. And of course, it's a beautiful thing. Johnny and Carmen, they're having the baby and everything.
Dude, when you're talking about relationships, that was actually, I wanted to bring that up, and I'm sorry to cut you off there, but like, I think we talked about all these like teenage relationships. I think the Johnny Lawrence and Carmen Diaz relationship is like a really awesome, like I love to see Johnny in that mindset, and it's kind of fun that, this character that we know, or thought we knew in the 80s all the way to now, and just seeing his different perspective on life. But one of my favorite moments in the entire season was when Carmen had the sex dream about Johnny Lawrence, and it was like in the 80s music video style, and that's a callback to early on, either season 1 or 2. Like when Johnny meets Carmen, he has that dream where she's like basically the girl from Whitesnake or whatever. Yeah, and like that just fits them so well. I thought that was like a great character moment for those two.
Yeah, I think that's good for Johnny because, one thing you learn about Johnny from season 1 is that Johnny is not necessarily a bad guy. He's just misunderstood. And of course, he only followed, what he was taught. But then I feel like when Miguel comes into his life, not only, Johnny became like a benefit for Miguel, but also Miguel became a benefit for Johnny because, it's like, I have this kid who needs help. And I have a chance to turn his life around, but I also have a chance to turn my life around. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, at the beginning of the season, it's like you want to root for Cobra Kai over Miyagi, though, because it's like, Daniel, what are you doing? Like, you had your problems in the past, but come on, man, y'all supposed to be adults. Why are you over here trying to?
He just comes off as this rich douchebag that is like using his power of influence to shut down somebody who's just trying to get by.
But Terry Silver does it better.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, in season 1, part of me was like, you know what? I liked you in the past, but I want to fuck you, LaRusso.
Yeah,
that's how a lot of, especially when like his cousin's getting involved with walking around with ski masks with a group of guys that go jump Johnny, which that was a funny little thing where he was like, no, it's on me, Johnny, it's on me. Like I like their interaction this season.
Yeah, well, you know what? One thing I like is that how Amanda, steps in between them two, and Amanda, it's like she doesn't necessarily see Johnny as a bad guy. I mean, he's a human being. And I liked how when Johnny and Carmen went on a date, that was season 2.
Those two like hit it off and were just that was fun.
Those are the best moments
honestly,
when they're all together.
Same when they bring it back with Elizabeth Shue at the end of season 4, I think it is, when, they all go out together. And like as soon as she meets like Daniel's wife, she's like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be so much fun. We need to talk." And you can just see like the horror to some extent on Daniel's face as he's like, "Oh god, I'm gonna have so many conversations this evening about this."
Yeah, and it's crazy. That's what started the rivalry between Johnny and Daniel. Their love for Elizabeth Shue's character.
Talked about it earlier, man. At teenage boys, you throw a girl in the mix, it just makes everything go nutty.
Man, if she goes to Toronto and Daniel goes after her, I don't know what Miles is going to have to say about that.
Say that again?
Well,
I said if she goes to Toronto and Johnny and Daniel go after her, I bet you'll have
Richie, you seem to not understand that they're not 10-year-old boys, so therefore this would not be a like equal argument against that. Like you are just completely off on this scale.
Talking about when they were kids.
Yeah. Well, you know what? One thing I do love about the seasons of Cobra Kai, I like season 3 when Allie makes Johnny and Dan realize, hey, you guys, like, you think there's one side. Daniel, you have your side of it. Johnny, you have yours. But truth be told, both of you play a part in it. Both of you guys, kind of being challenged in a way. And both of them like, well, you know what? Yeah, like, a small part of this is my fault. Yeah, me too. But then as they're working together in season 4, I think some told me that might be short-lived because of their styles and their ways, but I feel like it was more so Daniel acting like, his style works, wanted to take over the kids' training. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, when you're working with somebody, you have to respect how, you probably don't have to understand and like their methods, but you have to respect, that's how they do things, I mean, honestly, I like how the concept okay, Daniel, who he took the Eagle Fang students. Johnny took the Miyagi-Dos. And, okay, of course, Sam is number one in Miyagi-Do. Miguel's number one in Eagle Fang. And, Daniel was afraid the influence Johnny was having on Sam. Johnny was getting envious of the bond.
Don't turn my fighter into a pussy.
Yeah. But thing is, it was a good benefit for both of them. Because when Sam beat Piper, which I was shocked that she wasn't in this season, but when Sam beat Piper using Eagle Fang, Daniel didn't like that. But, like, dude, you're going to try to scold your daughter? She just won. So what if she didn't use...
She got to call a timeout, too, which I still don't understand why timeouts are illegal because they never brought it up before she did it.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about it is, like, she was like, I won. Like, you didn't win the right way. Like, maybe my right way is different from yours. And that's one thing I like that is talked about in Cobra Kai, and especially in Season 4. Everyone's way is different. We all have our ways of doing things.
Strengths and weaknesses.
At the end, it doesn't matter. What'd you say, Richie?
Strengths and weaknesses. Season 4 was about weakness.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just do things one way. I mean, it's kind of like, Miles, you and I are comedians, and Richie, do you do comedy also? Or?
I mean, I'm just funny in general. But I'm not
Okay, yeah. So, Miles, think about it. You and I as comedians, like, let's say you have your way of telling your jokes and you have your type of humor, just like, I have mine. Somebody might come to us like, hey, like, what was that? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
to the point that we could probably both write a joke about Cobra Kai, and it's going to come out so I mean, it's the same principle, but we're going to have two completely different jokes coming out of it because we have different worldviews and different voices and different experiences and all that good shit.
Yeah, you'll hear it from Dane Cook 3 months later. Both those jokes in the same set.
Yeah. Well, Angela Kay, she's a fan of the show also. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? It'd be crazy if Miles, Angela, and myself get together a Karate Kid shirt. Like one of us, somebody's wearing Cobra Kai shirt, someone's wearing Eagle Fang, another one wearing Miyagi-Do.
We get a dojo battle. Yeah, that's a good one. I
want to ask you guys, because I take it you both absolutely love the season and think it's better than all the seasons that came before it. I do differ on that, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
I love it for sure. I don't know if I would rate it as the best season. That's hard.
I thought when you got done watching it, I thought you said it was better. I thought you said you loved it a lot. We got too many text messages. If I have like an hour, I can go back and find it.
And in my opinion, it may have changed. I have no idea. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I want to know best fight of the season and who you think the MVP of the season was.
Robert, you want to go first on that?
Let's see. The best fight of the season. Okay. The best fight of the season, wow. I have to go. I did like how Chosen beat the hell out of all those senseis. That was just dope. I have to say Chosen, to me, was like the MVP because the way he stepped up, he came from Okinawa. He helped out Daniel. He helped mentor the students. Also, just the way he was, you remember Chosen from being the Karate Kid Part 2. Everyone saw him like, this dude is not my asshole, but really Chosen was just misguided when he was young. And of course you see him evolve, as an adult. But like I said, he was just the biggest, to me, he was the MVP of this whole entire thing. Just the way he stepped up. Yes.
I completely agree about his MVP. Chosen is, in my opinion, the MVP of the season. And man, dude, he gets in a sword fight and he lives to tell about it. But and he's drunk as hell the entire fight, which is even better.
That's the part that cracking me up with all of them.
Yeah, dude. The best fight, the one I like the most, this might be too basic, but man, Miguel and Robbie, their 2-story brawl in the apartment, I thought that was fantastic. I like the resolution of it. I think the fact that you had Johnny there as almost like, Johnny went from being the hype man to being like the, oh shit, we better put a stop to this dude. And I thought that like added an element to that fight that was really raw and organic, because these were two dudes that just essentially hated each other and had a lot of reason to hate each other, who then like through the course of hitting each other realized like, man, maybe all the shit we hate each other for doesn't really matter as much as it used to.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a brother coming.
Yeah.
You guys have brother. And well, you know what? It's funny you touched on that, Miles. Like the shit that they hate each other for, like it's stupid. Like Robbie was trying to tell Kenny, like, hey man, like I understand you're mad that Anthony bullied you, but dude, you need to let that go. Like, because essentially, trust me, all you going to end up feeling is hate, and it's just going to consume you. Mm-hmm. But also, you're gonna see. I guess that goes into where you're gonna see how Kenny, he just needs someone strong in his life. First he was being picked on. He doesn't have his big brother. You learn his big brother was the guy who was picking on Robbie and Juvie. Yeah. So I wonder, will they release his brother out in season 6, and what role would he play? Will he and his brother join Eagle Fang or Miyagi though? Or since Kreese got in jail, will Kreese open Cobra Kai back up and take it over the way he did? And maybe Kreese will guide them under another direction, but we'll see how that's going to play out. And will Terry Silver stay locked up for long? Is what I'd like to know.
He's got a lot of money, power, and influence. It sure doesn't seem like something that type of person does for long, does it?
And, well, you know what, Silver, knowing him, this guy's so rich. He has such influence. Like you say, he might end up having everybody worshiping him. He'll have 5-star meals. Yeah, he'll be one of those people that have 5-course meals.
He's better off in prison than he was out somehow.
All right.
Yeah. What about you, Richie? Answer your own question.
It's well, obviously Chosen's the MVP, much like when Terry Silver comes back in season 4 and just ran away with it. I feel like Chosen absolutely ran away with this season, which we need to give the actor himself props.
For sure. Hilarious, great with the action sequences, like great with the dramatic performance. Like, all around, really solid.
So Yuji Okamoto, thank you. Hope I'm not butchering your last name. But it was really nice to see him and talk about, like, even when he's talking to Sam, I believe it was at one point, about like how intense and how serious. Like, no one seems to understand. They're always like, these kids are fighting to the death, and like Daniel and Chosen are looking at each other like, we literally fought to the death. Like, you guys need to shut up. We're using like sharp weapons and hucking them at each other. So I like to see how they've bonded over the last season. And Miles, you said it earlier, but Terry Silver versus Chosen with swords, you can't beat that. That's the best fight of the season by far. And the added implication where I was like, Chosen's way better than him, but storytelling wise, they have to have a way for Terry Silver to win this fight.
And it's because he's hammered.
And I was worried that it was going to cause the death of Chosen.
I was too, but to some extent that was also my problem with it, is I don't think he was injured enough considering he was getting attacked with a sword, with the intent to be killed. That's why that fight took second to me over the Robbie and Miguel, because I felt like Robbie and Miguel actually like concluded more naturally versus Terry and Chosen just felt like it's like this fight would have ended 10 minutes in, or like 2 minutes in, when Chosen like missed one block and got stabbed in the chest essentially.
He tried to help him up, and then he got slashed in the back too. That one,
well, you know what? I did like how they brought back Mike Barnes, and
I was about to bring him up though, dude. I'm glad to see him back, but is everybody happy with the way he was used this season?
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to touch on, because you see this guy, you wonder what have these characters have been doing from Daniel's past. Okay, he owns a furniture store, and then Silver decides to have it burned down. I felt like they could put him in more scenes after that. I felt that he could address that problem with Daniel, like before the last episode of the season. And on top of that, I wanted to see him do more fight sequences. I didn't like the fact that he knocked down one guy, then he gets knocked down, and Johnny and Chosen are at disadvantage. And thing is, guys, did you ever think you see Johnny Lawrence and Mike Barnes, side by side? I mean, think about it.
I want to see. I admittedly want to see more of them. Like that's the big takeaway from this. That I was like, you just got a taste of those two together. I think it would be absolutely hilarious to get a sequence where it's like those two reminiscing about the shitty things they did to Daniel essentially when they were younger. And
that's what they all have in common,
right?
The issue with Daniel.
Yeah, like that's what brings everybody in this universe together. Essentially, they can even go out with like the wife and Carmen to dinner one night and just have more in common. But I liked Mike Barnes coming back. I liked the surprise that he was like all coked up and like stealing their limousine. I even liked that they implied that he was coked up. I'm like, that would make sense for this erratic behavior. I get it. But yeah, I felt like it's like, okay, he's barely in like the second episode. He disappears for like 7 episodes. And then he, surprise, I'm still in the show and I'm pissed that you burned down my furniture store, even though obviously it wasn't you. It was this other guy that I was reminded that I should be angry at. Like, he felt a little bit too... he felt a little bit too wishy-washy, but I guess that would be like the rash decision-making could be an influence of the cocaine. And that's fine, but it just I wanted more of him in this season, like you said, Robert. Maybe follow his breakdown, but obviously that would make it easier to guess that he was going to be the one kidnapping them in the limousine.
Well, also there's so many characters with so many arcs right now. If you add a whole like meaty part for the whole season, like you're gonna have to take some other things out, which I'm okay with. Get rid of the Sam and Miguel breaking up bullcrap and fill it with some Matt Barnes stuff. Matt Barnes is a basketball player. Mike Barnes stuff, and then we're all good.
So that's probably the argument, and like that's almost like I wish there was a way to trace this or track this, and there might be, but I assume that is going to be because of our age. Like, yeah, I agree with you. I would much rather see more Mike Barnes and less of the Miguel Sam stuff, but I would imagine if you're a younger viewer watching this show, if that's even a thing, which I assume it has to be, you're probably a lot more invested in the younger characters than you are like the random adults that people seem to like care about for some reason.
It's right. Just Sam for me, man. Like I was interested to see Robbie and Tori because you knew Robbie was switching sides, and how was that going to impact them?
Sure.
So there's still certain parts of the kid stuff that you enjoy. Like you guys already talked about Hawk in depth.
Sure, yeah, it's doable, but I'm saying they've got to like aim it at they're like the Ross and Rachel essentially, which people made the same argument about them.
They were boring too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, speaking of boring, that's actually, I would say my biggest disappointment of the season was somewhere between that first thing we talked about with I wish they would have kept Robbie and Johnny and Miguel away a little longer, but from the trailer, the preview for season 5, season 5, they teased that there was going to be like this massive brawl in the water park. And I was all for it. Like, as Richie and I both used to work in a water park, I was ready to see what type of unique things they could do. And it turned into a slide down a race, which was illogical. Yeah. And, like, the fact that, like, no two water slides in the history of the world are, like, everybody knows if you go to a water park, there's the faster good slide, and then there's the boring slide that you can go on quicker because nobody's in line for it.
You got to go down the slowest slide together at the same time.
Whoever comes out the bottom is the winner. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, but like basically it turned into one side kick on somebody stacked in a bunch of inner tubes, and then that immediately ended and it turned into a slide race. And man, I was so ready for just like a waterfall brawl.
Yeah, that the way they had them slide down, that was, to me, that was cheesy. I was like, what the hell is this?
And cheesy for a show that's known for being kind of cheesy in a fun way. Like, we accept a lot of cheese with the show, but that was just like a step too far.
Yeah, that was kind of like, okay, you guys kind of missed me with that.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
One thing, like going back to the whole, like seeing Mike Barnes, Chosen, Johnny Lawrence, all three of these guys as Daniel's, at one point, all three of them were Daniel LaRusso's antagonists in a different type of way.
Yeah.
But then you see all three of these guys are not such bad guys. And you see Daniel LaRusso, he's not, perfect. He's no saint himself. And I think that's kind of what brings all of them together. Everything happens for a reason. But again, just the combination of Johnny Lawrence and Mike Barnes. I mean, come on, you talk about some hotheads.
Chosen was pretty hot-headed too back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like those. I mean, just all three of these guys were hotheads. They just go into Silver's house, and I'm like, yeah, that's them. People like, well, why are they gonna do that? Like, you gotta think about it. Go look at the Karate Kid films. These guys were...
Dude, actually, Richie and what you just said, both combined, remind me, talk about Chosen back in the day on the Karate Kid films. They did a really funny job of calling out like a really old blooper, like mistake that was made in the Karate Kid 2, where basically Chosen was robbing the townspeople by using fake weights to weigh the vegetables. But if you think about it, he was using like clay weights that didn't weigh anything at all, and that would have actually mean that he was giving them more value, the person that he was supposedly. And like, I love how like Daniel basically calls him out, or I'm sorry, Daniel's wife I think is the one that calls him out, and he's just like, yeah, well, I was more of a fighter than a mathematician back then, or something like that.
Yeah. One thing I liked about Cobra Kai. Well, there's a scene that I like where Daniel he has his business, and the other guy at Cole's, Tom Cole's, he has his car dealership, and they're like at odds. And when Daniel goes to him, trying to keep the peace, he's kind of like being a dick towards him. And then Daniel just does that sweet like roundhouse, like a tornado, and kicks his drink out out of his hand. When he's like making fun of him, saying, "Oh yeah, look guys, we have a karate champion here." And Daniel like walks away, but then he kind of turns around and bam, kicks it. Like like that's what happens. But how did you guys feel about Johnny Lawrence drawing the dick on Daniel's face on the billboard? Do y'all recall that?
Say that one more time.
When Johnny drew a dick on Daniel's face.
Oh. I mean, honestly, at the time, the heat that they had between each other and like who we know Johnny to be as a person, yeah, I think that's a very Johnny Lawrence move.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
that worked. That worked for me.
Same here.
Yeah.
I was like, he drew a dick on.
I mean, that's this. When you get back to it, this show is supposed to be about Johnny. We've gone more macho here with Daniel LaRusso, but the show was proposed as we're going to see things from Johnny's side.
From the actual Karate Kid side.
So I wish they would do a little bit more of his stuff, but I am glad that the stuff we got to see with him, particularly this season, for the most part, it was all good news, right? And I actually, like, the whole time when that fight scene in Terry Silver's house where Johnny's getting the crap kicked out of him, I kept thinking, okay, Chosen's going to come in and save him because he's not actually dead. And then I thought, no, Mike Barnes is going to get up and save him. And I actually like that they made the thought of Carmen and his new family give him like the Spider-Man scene where he thinks of all the reasons that make him happy and give him the power to move on. And that's what gets him to get up and kick all their asses, even though, he hits all of them 2 or 3 times each and they're down, and he got hit 18 to 25 times and he still keeps good fighting. That's movie magic for you. So
yeah, that's just how fights work. Dude. Well, you just clearly aren't in a lot of fights.
Mike Barnes did come back to life to knock that one last person out.
Yeah, I like the move that Mike Barnes did. He's pretty agile for a guy his size. You know what I'm saying? I like how he came in there and, swooped in. So it makes me wonder, like, seeing all 4 of them together, do you guys think in season 6, it might sound a little far-fetched, but I would love to see all 4 of them bond more, like develop some type of, relationship, or not necessarily saying that 4 of them might not be the best of friends, but some type of bond, some type of respect. Maybe Mike Barnes might, I wonder, like in season 6, maybe he and Johnny could be senseis for Eagle Fang. Daniel and Chose could be senseis for Miyagi-Do. Or do you guys think that they could surprise us at the end and have Mike Barnes go a different direction and he could be the one to take over Cobra Kai?
I just like that idea a lot, and it really fits into the idea that they didn't use him much this season. They really kind of just really teased the fact that he was around, and he had a couple of pivotal moments, but ultimately he had very little screen time, and that could be setting him up for bigger things in the next season. I personally hope so. I honestly don't know what to even... I was going to ask you guys for, final thoughts and predictions moving into season 6 and whatnot as well. And I'm terrified to ask that question because I can't back it up. I'm at a loss. I'm very excited for this whole tournament, but the fact that this could theoretically be the last season, that puts a lot of weight into these predictions of okay, what are they going to do to send these characters off into a happily ever after, or will they?
Robert, you got thoughts?
Yeah, Miles, you really hit the nail on the head. Like you said, the fact that Mike Barnes was in just a very few episodes, he wasn't really utilized that much. So it could be a good setup for him in season 6. Wow, you never know what direction that they're going to go because one thing, each season, we're always thrown for a loop. When you think something's going one way and then it's oh, wow, I didn't expect that. So this could be, I guess, I know rumor has it saying this could be the last season, but who knows? I mean, like I say, maybe, going back to what I said earlier, maybe Sam and Tori could end up becoming friends, or not necessarily like you say, frenemies,
yeah,
or whatnot. and they can learn from each other and everything. You never know. Maybe I like to see Carmen and Johnny get married, since they're going to be having a baby and stuff. Daniel might be Johnny's best man. Amanda could be Carmen's maid of honor.
That feels like something they could definitely do as like a penultimate episode, like that, or like somewhere mid to end the season, before we get to the final fight and what that will be.
Yeah. Oh, guys, this is my son right here.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for helping with the tech difficulties earlier, dude. We couldn't have done this without you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I kind of got him in the Cobra Kai. He's downstairs playing Injustice Gods Among Us.
Oh, nice, dude. Nice. Who's your character?
Yeah.
Who's your character?
Oh, I played as the Flash.
Nice, dude. Very cool. Very cool. Who's your favorite character on Cobra Kai?
I have no idea, actually. I don't really have a favorite character.
Okay. You just like watching the fights?
He watched it because of me.
Oh, okay. It's good. Spend time with your dad. That's sweet, man.
Yeah. And I got him into Rocky. You see the Rocky poster behind
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
yeah. There it is.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys are Miles and Richard. If you guys are fans of the Rocky franchise.
Love the Rocky movies, dude. And they have a lot. Honestly, Rocky and Karate Kid really have a lot in common to some extent.
They definitely do. Since we're talking about Rocky, we're segueing from Cobra Kai to Rocky. Let me ask you guys, because this always gets me, in Rocky 4. Well, let's go back to it. Like, you see that, okay, Rocky and Apollo were bitter enemies, rivals in a way. So, Rocky,
are you about to pitch a reboot like show on Netflix
no,
where Ico or whatever his name is?
No, I just want to know y'all's opinion. Like, they were enemies in a way, but then Apollo went out his way to help Rocky, and they become friends. I felt like their friendship was kind of short-lived.
I don't know if that was pun intended or not, but yeah, that definitely did not end well.
Yeah, because some fact of the matter is, I didn't agree with them killing off Apollo Creed because I felt that he could have just put him in a coma or whatever. Do you guys felt like, in that situation, do you think Rocky should have thrown in the towel, even though he made a promise to Apollo? What would you guys, what's your opinion? What would you guys have done? I'll start first saying, you know what? Me in that situation, if it was someone, my friend, someone I love, they say don't do it, and I see you're about to get killed, I probably would have broken that promise. That's just me. I mean, because I wouldn't be able to live with the fact, no, I could have done something. Even though I made a promise, I wouldn't be able to live myself. That's just me, though.
Yeah, man, that's definitely a gun to head sort of question. Just how much emotional weight that has to it and whatnot. I mean, I kind of am with you, especially after seeing that whole situation and be like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to get punched by that guy.
Yeah, I know if it was me and if you were my cornerman in my house, I'll probably just be doing this.
How many towels? We need more towels. I need to throw more of them in the ring.
Richard, if Miles is standing there, I would expect you to do like Apollo's trainer. Throw the damn towel.
John Cena's behind you. Look out.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, Richie? Do you think
a man's got to have a code, as I've been told in community multiple times recently. So Apollo stood up for his code. Now, my code would have been to not put myself in that position to begin with.
Yeah.
But if I agree to go in the ring with you, I don't know. Man's got to have a code.
Man's got to have a code.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, like, we as men, we're filled with pride. We feel like we have something to prove, but I just felt like...
Do I get a montage scene of training before?
You better. Yeah. You don't have a shot with that one. Yeah. Yeah, true. No, Grit's that's definitely one of those...
Podcasts for another time.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast on Rocky if we want to, but that's definitely a heavy-hitting question. I do want to bring it back to Cobra Kai because I want one more piece of information to your final thoughts, Robert. Who wins the tournament next season?
Who wins the tournament next season?
Hold up. Before you get there, I didn't get to give my predictions.
I thought you were going next. I thought this was part of the predictions. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, then go ahead. I was going to make it a little better and more interesting for Robert to answer this question with my prediction.
Oh, okay. You want me to go ahead and go, Richie, and answer, or do you want to go ahead and put your...
I want to go before and ruin Miles' desires and plans.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
Good. Go ahead.
So, you know what the issue in the series is as of about halfway through this last season? Well, I guess technically by the end of the season, there's not really a villain anymore outside of John Kreese. I completely disagree with you guys. Terry Silver's gone. He's not coming back. There's no way to bring him back in a justifiable way.
He's kind of already peaked too at what he can do because he literally started global karate. I mean,
exactly. So there's nothing else. There's no more damage he can do. So John Kreese will secretly be training Kenny, and I don't think Kenny is going to be the villain. I think they're going to do something interesting, and outside of like Kreese maybe dealing with Kenny, who's dealing with his brother, who's trying to drag him into some like underground shady business stuff, and then Robbie goes to help him kind of thing. So that's going to happen. But as far as the tournament goes, Miles, they like to introduce new things in tournaments. So this tournament, there's going to be a male bracket and a female bracket. There's obviously going to be a grown bracket so that the grown-ups can fight again and have a reason to, even though they're best friends. But with the kids will be the final fight. 3-way match, top 3 contenders. So Hawk, Robbie, Miguel, one-on-one fight.
Like a round-robin tournament.
Yeah. Well, no, they're fighting each other at the same time.
Oh, no way. You think it's going to be a triple threat match.
Yeah,
all right.
And then for the women, Tori and Sam became BFFs. They're trying to build up this other chick, but Aisha comes back, and they have their round-robin fights. So it's winner take all. We're not doing this one-on-one crap anymore. We got too many people that have risen through the ranks. So.
Interesting. So that just sounds like a nightmare to score, to be honest. But maybe it like goes into like deathmatch rules.
Dude, this isn't going to be your typical thing. This is going to be like whoever can't stand up at the end of the fight. I like
the idea that they're fighting on like a bridge with like a pit of spikes below it, and if you hit like the uppercut in just the right way, they'll go flying.
Okay.
Fatality.
Before I answer, I want one person I want my son to answer this question. Okay, RJ, we're talking about Cobra Kai. Who do you think, the characters, Miguel, Robbie, Hawk, Kenny. Who do you think, how they had their tournament, right?
Yeah.
We just want your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. We just want your opinion. Just pick whoever, comes to mind. Who do you think out of all of them will win the tournament?
Oh, which dojo, or just which
fighter?
Which character, which fighter?
Which character is going to win it all?
Okay.
Like Miguel, Robbie, Hawk, or Dimitri. He knows him, babe. That's wifey.
I think I might.
Look at them. Tell me.
I know mine's scary looking.
Come on, man.
Wow.
So just pick whoever you.
I'm thinking. No, I'm just trying to process. What gets into my head.
That's a good start. Yeah, I do that too.
We all.
It's no right wrong answer. No pressure.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, you say between Miguel and Robbie, who you think will win?
I think maybe. I'm gonna say Robbie. I think.
Okay. Robbie King. He says Robbie King.
No, the X Factor. Yeah. The X Factor's Hawk. Then he doesn't know Robbie can beat Hawk because Hawk's already beaten him once before. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Richie, to answer your question, or to build on your thing about the villains, though, I think that we're gonna get introduced to a dojo from this karate master that they reference. That's like essentially teaching the like fight dirty.
He's the
concepts.
people that trained the people that attacked Julie in the next karate.
I was going to say,
Julie is a private eye detective that's been hunting them all across the country, and now she's at this tournament.
Bro, you took it a step or two farther, but I was literally going to go with like that could be a way to tie Julie into it. But no, I think that we're going to get a dojo that's going to make we're going to see that Cobra Kai is small fry, like they were bad if you happen to live in privileged California. But in the real world, they're jokes amongst these other like terrible karate people.
Yeah. To answer the question, I would like to see. This is my pick. I would like to see Robbie Keane win the tournament because we see Miguel win it. We see Hawk win it. I would like to see Robbie.
Robbie hasn't shined. Yeah, that's true.
He's got second twice, which is a slap in the face.
Yeah.
He's lost to Miguel. He's lost to Hawk. So I feel, okay, don't have him lose a third time. Heck, I would even love to see Dimitri. Now, Kyler's punk ass, I don't know if I want to see him win. I mean,
Kyler doesn't deserve it.
He's relegated to referee.
Yeah,
he talks a big game, but this dude he's been a bully. He never learns. He lost to Hawk in the tournament. He's got beaten up by Miguel twice, and he got his ass kicked by Dimitri. Like Kyler's he's a piece of crap. This dude.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Does anybody have anything else? Final thoughts on season 6 moving forward, or any last reflections on season 5 before we wrap this whole thing up?
Will Johnny and Daniel fight one more time?
I think you have to have that in the final fight, right?
I mean, they had a stalemate the last time they actually fought, where they knocked each other out at the last second for a point.
I like your idea of the adult tournament because that's the most logical way to get Daniel at this point, Daniel and Johnny to face each other in a legitimate battle. I think that it would be cool to have it go back, and I think ultimately Johnny should win. I think that the final time they fight, Johnny Lawrence should beat Ralph Facci or beat Daniel LaRusso in a clean manner.
To the face.
I was going to say, actually, I think Daniel LaRusso does the crane kick that gets called for a penalty, so they go back for one more, and Johnny Lawrence wins it that way.
But I think it should be something where Daniel's being overly aggressive with some Eagle Fang tactics, and Johnny uses Miyagi.
Or he uses a kata, and but it's like his own, like it's like crack a beer, rip a bong, like drive a fast car.
Yeah, I ain't think about Johnny and Daniel fighting it, but you know what? I would like to see that because I would root for Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah.
Because I like how Johnny is evolving. I mean, of course, like you, Miles, I'm repping Eagle Fang. You know what I'm saying? So
hell yeah, dude.
I would love to see that. Matter of fact,
it's got to be the last fight of the series.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I would mind seeing,
happy and I wouldn't mind seeing Johnny Lawrence and Mike Barnes mix it up.
I think that would be fun, but we can get that early. That doesn't need to build towards I think if we're gonna have the adults fight again, the last adult fight on this series needs to be Ralph and William, like the OG too.
He does.
He does 3 movies. He goes for crane kick, but it's a ploy, and then he goes to beat the drums, and then he turns it into kata. So he uses all 3 movies to beat Daniel.
That would be dope.
Well, I think it should be. I think that should happen. I think they should have not Johnny. They should have Mike Barnes and Chosen be the officiators, call the points.
Yeah.
I feel that it'll work that way. I feel they can have that fight either at the Miyagi Dojo or.
And of course, we end with Samantha running Miyagi Do and Miguel running Eagle Fang, so that we can come back in 20 years and watch Cobra Kai: The Next Generation, or whatever they're going to call it, and it'll be glorious. Guys, this was fun, y'all. I love this show. I'm so glad we finally got to sit down and talk about it for a second time for us, Richie. But Robert, so glad you were able to join us, man. Tell everybody that's listening where they can find your comedy or anything that you want to promote online.
Yes, so you can find me on Facebook at Robert Peppers. That's my Facebook profile. You can also follow me on Instagram at Pep Diddy. And also my Twitter, I really don't tweet much, but my Twitter is at Robert Peppers4. And the next time you catch me on stage is October 20th with comedians KG, Marvin the Magician, some guy named Benny Corrales. I think that's his name.
Yeah, dude,
and also
Benny's amazing, man. He's funny as hell. He's been on TV.
Yeah. Oh, I know he has to be. I never met him, but I know he can tear up. Derek Cakeley, you'll see us October 20th at the Comedy Arena in McKinney, Texas. So for anybody, if you're in McKinney, come out October 20th, Comedy Arena, McKinney, Texas. I'll be out there. That's how you can follow me. That's my next show. I just want to say thank you again, Miles and Richie. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier.
All good, dude. All good. We appreciate you being here, man. Seriously.
You know what I'm saying? So, but thanks for giving me another chance. Got a chance to redeem myself. This
Just
was
like
fun.
Johnny Lawrence, dude. We're not going to leave you the villain.
Yeah,
We're going to leave you with the bill.
Yeah, thank you. Just seriously, man, we had a blast with you, and we're so glad you were able to come. If we talk about Cobra Kai again, we'll definitely invite you back. Maybe we'll get Angela on with you next time. That'll be super fun conversation.
We can talk about anything, man. Hey, from Cobra Kai to Rocky, heck, we can talk about WWE. I see your championship.
Oh yeah.
To freaking Teenage Mutant. Yeah,
I don't know much about those guys.
Richie, I see your Spider-Man. You know, we can talk about Marvel next time. Wherever you guys want to talk about, hey, you want to do it again, I'm down for any time. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah. And just like Robert, you can find Richie on Twitter not tweeting. Richie, you want to tell them all about that?
Yeah, I'm at the Wiz_Kid23. I did tweet out that Ted Lasso and FIFA thing. I thought that was pretty cool. And something else. Cool, yeah. But that was like 2 tweets this week. You can follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. That's all over social media. Make sure you hit that follow button on Twitch. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on Twitch. Give him the money, whatever the things on Twitch require you to do so that, we can make like The Simpsons and get bigger and better as we go older. So, with all that rambling, yeah, it's Miles' turn. Go, you. Oh, wait. Our show's at Best Darn Diddly. You should follow that as well. That's DIDDLY.
We're also having technical difficulties on the outros as well.
Well, we haven't done Best Darn everything in so long that I forgot how.
Hey, I kept telling you it was going to happen. I don't know why you didn't believe me.
And I've just been on edge like this for months.
Why does this remind me of something that Ned Flanders would say, like, dilly, I dilly ho day?
I don't have any idea how that happened. Just pure luck.
I like the title.
Thanks, man.
Good.
Well, this has been Best Darn Everything. We appreciate you tuning in. We will be back again next week for another Best Darn Diddly. I'll probably eat an edible because we're talking about Weekend at Burnsies.
Don't forget to buy some Jell-O before you head home.
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.